Hello everybody and welcome back to the second part of my presentation related to the notions of voltage, current and resistance summarized by the Ohm's law. As a reminder, in the first part we have used to explain this law the analogy of a river dam. You can go back and look at part 1 if you wish so. In this presentation we will use another analogy that will help you to better comprehend these notions. Let's imagine the following experience. On the left you have a reel containing an infinite string of small marbles equally spaced. You can pull the string to infinity and understand it will never get empty. At the right of the system you have a pulley for a 90 degrees turn, and lower a weight of 1 kg which applies a motion force downward. The pulley has no particular meaning and is just there to help the arrangement of this mental experiment. At the beginning the weight is fixed, as we block the reel. Let's go deeper in the mental experiment. We put now a pipe along the trajectory of the marbles, between the reel and the pulley. We say the pipe is perfect, meaning it doesn't affect at all the motion of marbles along this ladder. Just before the pulley, we had a marble counter, this one serving to count the quantity of marbles passing by unit of time, which can be seconds, minutes, hour, or whatever. Discharging then from the wheel of marble. We will call this quantity the current of marbles. As our system is complete and ready now, what we want to monitor is the current of marbles, measured by the marble counter in relation to time. Our reel of marbles blocked, of course the current is equal to 0. Now let's unblock the reel by pressing the button Start and check what is going to happen. We know in this experiment, using the Newton's laws, that the current is increasing linearly with a time, in the same way that when we drop on the moon an object, this object will increase its speed every second with an increment equal to the gravitational constant present to the surface of the moon. Our graphic here is limited in size, but of course, if we had let the experiment go on endlessly, the current would tend toward infinity. Let's do again the mental experiment, but this time we give up the perfect pipe for one with friction. To have this friction, we can imagine, for example, the pipe having some grain of sand on its inner outline. Starting the simulation, we see the marbles speeding up in the beginning the same way that the red dash curves, increasing the current. But doing so, the marbles hitting the grains of sand create some friction, which heats up the pipe and give birth to a friction force opposed to the motion force created by the wave. This friction force grows, starting soon to counterbalance the motion force. Once the two opposed forces become equal, the current stabilizes as we have an equilibrium. In the model with no friction, remember that the current tends toward infinity with time, but in the one with friction, it tends toward a fixed value independent of time. Repeating the mental experiment with a pipe with medium friction, the current will stabilize, of course, to a lower value compared to a weak friction scenario. And finally, to a lower value with a higher friction pipe. Now, let's focus on the high friction case and see what happens if we increase the weight, for example, to 2.5 kg. We guess easily, by logic, that because we increase the weight, getting again the equilibrium between the friction force and the wave force, it's reached at a higher current. And of course, same thing if we increase the weight to 5 kg, for example. What we do now is that we take these results and create a new graphic. In this graphic, we indicate the stabilized current value as a function of the weight. We place with 3 points on the graphic. We connect then the points and get a straight curve. We do the same with the medium friction case and remember that the current were higher. And higher again when come the current values for the low friction case. We can quantify the friction by creating an index called eta, eta1, eta2, and eta3 respectively for the low, medium, and high friction pipe. We have, of course, eta1 inferior to eta2, itself inferior to eta3. Because the curves are lines, we can use the linear equation y is equal to a constant multiplied by x to express them mathematically. Doing so, we have the expression current is equal to the way multiplied by the inverse of eta. We can modify, of course, this equation that gives the way equal to the current multiplied by eta. Now let's summarize all this. We have conducted a mental experiment that shows us that the way is what set the marbles in motion, and eta is what put up a resistance to the motion of marbles and stabilized the current to a defined value given by the previous equation. By analogy with electronic, the way is equivalent to the difference of potential called voltage. Between two different potentials, the electrons are always attracted towards the one with a higher value. Eta is equivalent to R for resistance. For the current, we just changed the marbles by electrons. So it is a quantity of electrons passing through cables, for example, by unit of time. And finally, writing the equivalent equation, we get the Ohm's law. If we can make now a slight digression to end this presentation, I show here an analogy between our mental experiment and the simplest electronic circuit coming with a voltage generator and the resistor of resistance value R. The triangles on the bottom refer to the ground of the circuit. Generally, by convention, this ground is set to a potential of 0 volt. This symbol is here to simplify the schematics of the circuit. Indeed, we could have drawn this. Because the circuit is a closed loop, we can have electrons running an infinity of time through the resistor. This is what we modeled in the top picture with the infinite wheel of marbles. The voltage generator is there to create the difference of potential across the resistor. On the positive side of the generator, we have a potential of 1 volt compared to the ground. And on the bottom side, the negative side, it is the ground, and we know that the potential is 0 volt. Across the voltage generator, we have then a voltage equal to the difference between these two potentials. That is to say 1 volt. And it is the same thing, as you can see, across the resistor. This is this voltage, like a way of 1 kg, that set the electrons in motion, and the resistor which defines a limit to this motion, a limit to the current. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.